Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 157, which is called Kara's Footprints. And so this was, I thought, a solid episode. I didn't think it was anything particularly incredible, given that it was sort of a hyped episode of like, oh look, we're starting the Kara arc here. Look at all these teases. And it was cool to just see an investigation, early stages of introducing Kara, like we don't know a lot of information. Like this episode is literally Sasuke and Sai confirming that Kara actually does exist after hearing the name from Shojoji in the previous arc. So I can appreciate, that it's still like early days here. They weren't going to give us everything here. I still didn't feel the episode overall like accomplished like that much. It definitely sort of was very much like really, not using its time that well. The other thing was that I didn't particularly like the writing surrounding Garashi when he made his big turn. I thought it became a little bit nonsensical in the sense of like, I'm part of Kara, I also killed my friends because I like Kara and they give me hope, and it's like, wait. Why did you kill your friends? Like, did they tell you to do it? Because he doesn't give any specifics on it. It's just like, apparently, Kara gave him the gas, gave him the mask. And then it's like, wait, so was the scene before when like he and his friends were running away like a complete lie? Or is that like after he'd already joined Kara? It's weird in that I felt what was missing here was probably some sort of a scene where Garashi talked to his friends about like what they've discovered, and like he's like, they seem like the group that will save the world. They disagree, and so he kills them off. Look, he's ultimately a very minor character, and he played his role pretty well in terms of a quick surprise. Has he completely turned the tables on Sai and Sasuke? Not quite. But obviously it's revealed that he is just an outer member of Kara, so who's someone who's just like roughly aligned with them. He's not one of the inners, who are obviously the cloaked figures we see at the end, where we see their leader speak, of course. The main thing we get here is, though, we get sort of this very early look at the Kara sort of lab where all these experiments have been going on. Sasuke mentioned at the end, biological experiments, which is going to come into play much later on as they properly introduce more of the real elements of this arc, I suppose. So that was nice setup just for what's to come. Beyond that, I liked a little bit at the start with Sai and his team, just really showing that, his team really do have the potential to be very good at information gathering, because they presented their information, what they found, really well, and they seem to imply that a lot of the Genin teams had been sent out to try and investigate and find locations related to Kara, but Sai's team was the one that actually did find it, so I actually like that. And while Sai and Sasuke didn't really, I suppose, interact that much in terms of sort of their personalities sort of going off each other, it was fitting in the sense that, like, of a lot of the characters that we know, those two are definitely two you'd want on a mission like this. Sai being sort of Anbu Black Ops, and then Sasuke being sort of solo, almost like Anbu Black Ops, just with the way he goes about things like on his own. So two very fitting people for an investigation, and obviously, basically from the same team. We've not seen these two characters interact all that much, but you could see that they sort of get each other because I suppose of all of the members of their team, these are the two most just focused on the mission. Sai obviously has changed quite a bit from his like early introduction, but he and Sasuke can be very just, let's get this done. There was no need for like a lot of them to do crazy jutsu. We got to see Sasuke use the Chidori to take down the big boulder, and beyond that, it was just very basic sort of ninja action here, because Garashi really wasn't much of a threat. He had the poison, of course, but it obviously was revealed they sent clones down there when they got caught, and then he ended up actually sort of killing himself on top, with the idea that he just so heavily supports Kara because they at least give the impression that they're actually trying to help all of the world and not just the big nations. And that comes back later on with Naruto sort of realizing that, yeah, until we sort of bring peace to all of the nations, not just the big ones, the war isn't properly over. And so it was interesting to see the Land of Rain, I suppose, a village hidden in the rain or whatever, again. And see the amount of damage that was done, that it still is this crazy place, even from when we've seen it before. But you know, just in terms of Kara and the reveals about it, this was very much just a, here's what we're going to explore as we go forward, but not too much to focus on. They obviously teased a bit towards the end the idea of like, okay, bunch of cloaked figures, different sizes. One of them's like an old man. From the intro, of course, we have a better sense for what these characters look like. And then from the preview for next week's episode, it's like, wait, they're going from this Kara stuff into what seems to be a filler episode, but then the last shot of the preview is very clearly the same old guy that is a member of Kara. So that's going to be very fun to see how they do that. This is going to be this, I suppose, anime expansion on the material from the manga. So hopefully it does a good job at expanding on some of the stuff that we didn't quite get. In the same way that the last canon arc we got, the Shijoji arc, the Mujina Bandits, they had the whole, you know, prison arc beforehand that was like direct setup for the actual arc from the manga. I suppose they're doing the same thing here before we get into the manga content, which we're probably still a few episodes away from, but I don't think they'll keep us waiting too long, and they'll just want to give more of a sense of like that it takes a while to investigate them, but there'll be, you know, bits and pieces gradually coming out here. So yeah, that's basically all I want to say about this episode. Like I said, solid episode, but not sort of blow away. I think for some people it might have like aspects that were like, yeah, that's really good. Tonally, I think it was on point. It was representative of what it's going to be like with Kara. But I think I definitely would say this episode itself was probably a little overhyped. Now, to be fair, we've sort of known that this episode has been coming for months, and because of the virus delay, it's probably been just by default naturally overhyped more than just people going overboard with it. So, you know, we'll get into the better stuff as we go forward, but, you know, it was still an enjoyable episode, especially compared to the previous episode, the Chocho focused episode. So, yeah, a good sign of things to come, and we'll see how the episodes play out going forward. But that's been my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.